Oké, zo gaan we ons het ook zien hoor. Hierdie
Nou,
kant.
gaan op jou voor naar YouTube of...
Ja, om daar te checken.
Omdat we
Like pretty much any pastime, sim racing can get expensive if you let it. It's all too easy to look at the shiny rigs on display at esport events, or those used by sim racing influencers, and come to the conclusion that sim racing is a great way to turn a small amount of money into a large overdraft in the blink of an eye. But that's really only one part of the story. Hello fellow sim racers. I've lost count of the number of comments that I receive telling me that I could go out and do some real racing for the cost of my sim rig. Those people are way off of the mark, but that's a story for another day. But there is merit to the underlying premise though. You really don't need to spend a lot of money to get started sim racing. And based on my experience, spending a lot of money really doesn't gain much, if any, competitive advantage either. I'm not going to be covering that aspect here, but if you're new to the channel then you should check out my video about whether sim racing's pay to win to hear my thoughts on that subject and to see me test my high-end wheel and pedals against an entry-level setup. Spoiler alert, my lap times were pretty much identical with both. So if selling your soul at the crossroads or your kidney to a back alley surgeon isn't necessary, then what is the cheapest route to entry in sim racing? I'm going to be breaking down the options in the following areas: platform, controllers, rig and software, as well as taking a look at the most budget-friendly options and discussing the merits of each. This is probably going to be the most convoluted of the subject areas, since most people interested in starting out sim racing will probably have somewhere they can start from, and of course there are big pluses and minuses to each option. The big debate for most people getting started out is whether to go console or PC, and this may be heavily dependent on what you already have available. It's no secret that PC is the platform that's best catered for in the sim racing world. The open nature and the flexibility of the hardware integration that comes with Windows-based PCs provides an ideal environment for sim racing to flourish. And that means that there are more software and hardware options available for the PC than there are for consoles. On top of that, the open nature of many PC titles allows for third-party software and community-generated mods to be used, which further enhance the experience. But that doesn't mean that you can't start out sim racing on a console, far from it. Both Xbox and PlayStation offer a range of driving games, from outright arcade races to fully fledged sims. For example, the popular Assetto Corsa and Project Cars 2 are available on both Sony and Microsoft consoles, and each has their own exclusives that are worthy of note. When I got back into sim racing again around 4 years ago, it was on a PlayStation 4, and it was really only the modding scene that eventually dragged me over to the PC platform. So then, if you're starting out with nothing, then a console is by far the cheapest route to entry. And with both of the platforms due for a generational refresh next year, there's a strong argument for buying second-hand. These are localized prices that will likely vary based on where you live, but the prices on pre-owned current-gen consoles are very reasonable these days. That being said, a lot of people have a PC in the house that may well be capable of playing some racing sim titles. One of the real positives of the sim racing community is that they've traditionally favoured physics performance over shiny graphics, which means that many older titles are still very popular, despite not looking quite as spectacular as the newest of the new. And many of these can be run on older hardware, but more on that later. So you may be able to run some racing sims on the PC you already have, or perhaps with a modest upgrade. With the thorny issue of gaming platform out of the way, let's look at input devices, which broadly breaks down into joypads versus a wheel and pedals. While there are a number of fast drivers out there making use of the humble joypad, I think it'd be fair to describe this setup as less than ideal. And the majority of users will perform better with the wheel and pedals. And that's mentioning nothing of the immersion factor. Driving racing sims, particularly those with more representative real-world physics, is all about precise, measured control inputs, and the degrees of rotation most wheels provide definitely encourages smoother and more deliberate control inputs than the handful of millimeters of travel on a thumbstick or other joystick. And the same goes for dedicated pedals. Moreover, if you want to drive cars with manual gearboxes, it quickly becomes nightmarishly difficult to do so on a controller. But if your budget won't stretch to a wheel, then don't let that put you off. Get stuck in and see if sim racing's for you. Beyond the precision of input that a wheel and pedal set provides is the small matter of force feedback. If you've not used a sim racing wheel before, it could be easy to overlook this as similar to the vibration you feel in a gamepad, but this is a very different beast. When you're driving a real car out on the road, your body provides information about how the car is interfacing with the environment. You feel G-forces, vibrations, etc. that let your brain know how the car's behaving. When you're sat in a chair playing a video game, you've got none of this, which can make driving games quite tricky. However, if you have a force feedback wheel, racing sims provide highly useful information through that wheel about how the car's interfacing with the road surface when everything's going well, and with other objects when things are going less well. The resistance of the wheel increases with the loads on the simulated car, giving you essential feedback about how that car's behaving. Without force feedback, feeling the grip limit is near impossible, and you have to rely on visual cues, which is, simply put, much more difficult. But with a force feedback wheel, you can feel the car go slightly over the limit, the wheel feels lighter, and you can instinctively correct the car with the appropriate control input, usually countersteer. So most people will be looking at some sort of wheel and pedal setup, and the two big players in the entry-level space are Thrustmaster and Logitech. At the moment, in the UK at least, it's hard to recommend anything other than the Logitech G29 or G920 for budget-conscious buyers. The new prices are at what is pretty much an all-time low, and the pre-owned prices have followed suit. I recently spent a month with a brand new G29 in preparation for an upcoming review, and honestly, it's hard to fault it for the price. You get a lot of wheel for the money. Furthermore, older models like the G25 and G27 are also suitably inexpensive on the second-hand market, and are functionally very similar to the new models. Just to avoid any confusion, the G29 and 920 are pretty much identical, with the 29 being set up for PC and PlayStation, and the 920 being PC and Xbox compatible. As a final note, in the past I've recommended that perhaps spending a little bit more on the equivalent Thrustmaster offering would make more sense. But with the Logitech prices being so low right now, I don't think it actually makes a lot of sense for a budget-conscious consumer. Of course, your mileage may vary. For me, this is the easiest section. You don't need a dedicated sim rig. Most wheel and pedal sets, including the recommended Logitech offerings, include a desk mount of some sort, so all you need to do is make a bit of space and start racing. Oh, and if you're using a desk clamp, make sure your chair isn't going to roll away when you stamp on the brake pedal, using, well, whatever method you like really. But if you do want some sort of dedicated sim rig, there are some great budget-conscious choices. And then of course there's always the DIY route. I've seen some great sim cockpits made from wood, PVC pipe, steel tubing, or whatever the maker's most comfortable working with, often paired with an old car seat from a scrapyard or from eBay. And it's probably fair to say that many of these rigs are probably much more robust than the entry-level commercial offerings. Obviously, software is going to be pretty much platform dependent. If you're going down the console route, in terms of full-blown sims, Project Cars 2 and Assetto Corsa are available on both of the main platforms, as are the slightly more accessible F1 and Dirt games from Codemasters. Furthermore, both Microsoft and Sony have their own flagship exclusive racing series, Forza and Gran Turismo. If I were starting from scratch, I would opt for PlayStation on the basis that GT Sport is superior to Forza Motorsport 7 from both a physics and a competition perspective, though of course this may change with the next generation of consoles. As I mentioned earlier, the PC platform has a lot of choice in the sim racing sphere, with titles like R-Factor, iRacing, Assetto Corsa Competizione, Race Room, Automobilista, Dirt Rally, and the aforementioned Assetto Corsa and Project Cars, as well as a number of other older titles that still hold up. I have a separate video comparing the merits of the main racing sims for those new to PC-based sim racing, which you should check out to get a feel for the landscape, especially if budget isn't your primary concern. However, if you're using an older PC, titles like Race Room, Assetto Corsa, iRacing, R-Factor 2 and Automobilista can be run on pretty humble equipment if you're willing to turn some of the settings down. Newer sims like Project Cars 2 and especially Assetto Corsa Competizione need a bit more horsepower to support their more modern visual engines, so it's very much a case of looking at the minimum specs and seeing if your setup meets the requirements. As for the actual cost of the software, again, the age of some of the sims really does lead to some great bargains, especially when it comes to the time of the Steam seasonal sales. Assetto Corsa, AMS and R-Factor in particular frequently have deep discounts and great content bundles, so it's worth keeping an eye on historical prices on a site like steamprices.com to look out for potential future deals. The two outliers are Race Room and iRacing. The former is free to play with limited content and the expectation that you'll purchase more cars and tracks as you go. This is great for giving it a try without spending any money, but buying content can get expensive if you buy it piece by piece. If you like Race Room and want to buy more than a handful of content, the massive discount offered by buying everything at once or one of their packs is the most cost-effective option, but it's a pretty big outlay. But that outlay ain't got nothing on the monster that is iRacing. There's a subscription fee to use the service, which is far from insignificant, and on top of that, you'll need to buy all of the content you intend to race after you get out of rookie class, which is typically priced between $12 and $15 per item. There are, of course, discounts to be had, especially if you add more content, but it does add up. Now, fans of iRacing will point out that they get great value for money for their outlay, and I consider myself in that group, but if you're on a tight budget, iRacing may not be the place to start. Like any hobby, sim racing's going to cost. But presuming you're starting out with literally nothing, you could easily pick up a pre-owned console, wheel, pedals and some games for under £300 in the UK. Now, that's not an insignificant amount of money, but I think it's also fairly in line with the costs associated with a lot of other pastimes. Or, to put it another way, it's about 1.5 beers a week for a year at my local. If you've already got a PC that's moderately capable, then things get even cheaper. You can save even more money by foregoing the wheel and pedals, but at that stage you run the risk of starting to harm the quality of the experience. Obviously, pay your money, take your choice. Finally, it's important to acknowledge that cost and value are highly subjective, and what seems reasonable to me may well be prohibitively expensive for someone else, or if they're lucky, pocket change. Whatever the case, if sim racing is a hobby that you truly enjoy, it will likely find a way of extracting as much money from your wallet as it physically can. This is very much gateway drug territory. Consider yourselves warned. So then, that about brings things to an end here. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, it would be great if you could hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you can see more content like this again in the future. So all that's left to say is goodbye, thanks for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day.
The G915 is the most advanced gaming keyboard Logitech G has ever produced, and now you can get it in a 10 keyless format. G915 TKL takes the same high-performance technology of the original and delivers it in a sleek 10 keyless format. Put simply, if you want advanced gaming performance without sacrificing style, G915 TKL is the choice. The G915 TKL boasts the fullest feature set of any wireless keyboard out there. Lightspeed Wireless gives you the same faster-than-wired performance currently powering many of the world's elite pro players to victory with super fast 1 millisecond report rate. Woo! And you get an incredible 40 hours of non-stop use with full RGB light sync enabled with just under 4 hours of charge time. You can even switch between Lightspeed Wireless and Bluetooth, allowing you to easily use across multiple devices. There's no compromise on switch choice either. The stunning low-profile switches are available in 3 types: GL Tactile, Linear, and Clicky, all of which are low profile, allowing for 25% faster actuation and an effortless typing experience. Dedicated media keys and an edgeless volume roller keep full control at your fingertips. To cap it off, the keyboard's amazing features are housed within a sleek, ultra-thin brushed aluminum top case and is available in stylish black or white colorways. The new G915 TKL perfectly marries cutting-edge technology with sophisticated design. To find out more, head over to logitechg.com.
I said stop, ready, I'ma prove this, man. This the revolution, come on, it's the movement, man. I'ma move this, man. I'm putting this agenda and improvement plan. Is it true you can, cause it's who you ran. I can play just like the two can. 2 down, 2 grams, I'm a new man. Is it too damn fresh? I can't hear nothing cause I'm too damn deaf. So it's never, I never know it's me and never. You never, you put my feeling heavily together. Come and stand up tall, go round the room, sweat is dripping down the wall, and we're never together, we're never sleep, we're never saying it's clever as ever, cause I'm sure that we got to know, it's the start of the beginning, so we got to go. I said stop, ready, I'ma prove this, man, it's the revolution, come on, it's the movement, man, I'ma prove this, man, I'm putting this agenda and improvement plan, is it true you can, cause it's who you ran, just like the two can. 2 down, 2 grams, I'm a new man. Is it too damn fresh? I can't hear nothing cause I'm too damn deaf. So it's separate. And it will always be and never be. You let them be, you never be. You put my feeling heavily together. We come and stand up tall. Go round the room, sweat is dripping down the wall. And we're never together. The weather sleep forever. The weather flame. We're never saying it's clever as ever. Cause I'm sure that we got to know. It's the start of the beginning, so we got to go.
All life on Earth, dominated by one species that combines 2 extraordinary abilities: imagination and fingers. So now we're ready to play 12th Esports World Championship. The final stage.
NamLAN, Land of the Brave can be your moment of battlefield glory. Bring your PC and join the action for Namibia's biggest LAN party to date. 20,000 in cash and prizes there for the taking in this esport event not to be missed.
Battle it out on the 20th and 21st of December at the Windhoek Showgrounds and tournament games, Call of Duty, Dota, Unreal Tournament, and Dawn of War. $30 can get you a slice of all the action.
NamLAN, Land of the Brave, show us what you're made of!
Never miss.
So who's next?